Hi, everybody. Good morning. This is Jean Ketchum, aging but dangerous. And I am so excited this morning because I have a very, very good friend of mine on. And his name is Dane Stauffer. And Dane is an actor, a singer, playwright, a director, an educator, and sought after party guest. So he just has all kinds of things that he can do. So Dane, welcome to our show.
Thank you, Jean, and thank you for having me on. And it's fun to virtually meet with you.
It is fun. Now, the last time I saw you, you were at Crooners. Crooners is a local nightclub, jazz club here in the Twin Cities.
Mm-hmm.
And Dane, it was so much fun, and you're just up there having your brothers on stage with you, and you are singing and having so much fun, and I just absolutely loved it. Now, what I want to know, your profession has gotten hit so hard with this virus, and I just wanted to talk to you this morning a little bit about that. What's going to happen here? What are you doing to kind of, maybe getting it back or whatever?
Yes. There are, and when I say we, I mean me and my colleagues who we talk a lot and we're processing a lot and figuring out, and just like everyone in the world, we're adapting every day as new information comes in. You're right. For us, every theater, every studio, every church, every nightclub, every school, places where we do our work are all closed for now. So just like this interview, I'm shifting as much as I can. I'm shifting things online. It's a little easier for me to shift my teaching online. I'm teaching storytelling classes for 55 plus. We'll talk a little more.
Yeah, I want to hear about that later. Yeah.
And that's been a learning curve, but it's pretty slick. I mean, I think the trade-off is that we're not all driving and trying to find parking, and I'm realizing that I could start to open these classes up to the public in a way that would go beyond this geographical area. And I know that people have been doing this for years and years, but I'm very much an analog person, Jean. Most of my performing career is live.
Yeah.
I'm learning I have recorded 2 CDs, and I'm really proud of them, but I tend to sell them at my appearances. I've never put the music online, though I've had these CDs for several years. And I'm learning. I'm going online and I'm comparing CD Baby to Sound Camp to Bass Camp to SoundCloud to Reverb Nation to all these things that make my head swim. And I think the challenge right now, it's the same challenge that I find when I look at aging creatively, is where I've got some pretty strong opinions and excuses that get in the way of my learning things online. I'm like, I don't know, I like people and I don't know.
I agree.
And this pandemic is challenging me to look at where I put an excuse right in the way of growth. And so that's a that's a reality, and I think that's a positive that's coming out of the adaptation. Obviously, I've had the first death in my family to COVID, and
you have?
Yeah, my sister-in-law's younger brother in Long Island.
Dear.
And so I'm not, when I feel like I want to hasten to say that when I'm talking about my own adaptations, I'm aware that I'm fortunate in the midst of this is a pandemic, and I don't want to minimize that with my company. But there are silver linings, and I think a lot of us are confronting areas where we haven't let ourselves grow.
Right.
And now we have to. And I, along with other people, I'm learning, navigating the unemployment system, and it's been decades since I've been on unemployment, and I'm grateful that we have that stopgap right now.
Right. Were you able to get in? I mean, were you able to?
Yeah, I was, and had a lot of questions that I couldn't ask, but I just did my best, and I called and spoke to somebody, and she said, "We're learning too. We don't know, and we're, you know, everyone's doing their best. I think."
Right. Right. Well, and you and I talked the other day, Dane, and we both were saying how we're learning so much about ourselves too. You know, this is a time for us to really reflect and really, you know, learn and appreciate what we're going through. So, you know, we were discussing that, and I think that's so true. Well, tell us about the storytelling. I'm anxious to hear about that because I don't know about that.
This is a continuation. About 5 years ago, I was contacted. There are some organizations that are doing a lot of philanthropic support for creating programming, ongoing sequential learning for 55 plus. And there are two models. One is partnering. I would partner with theater or an arts organization, and we would bring classes to that organization. The other model is to bring this programming, by this programming, arts classes, storytelling, painting, improvisation, dance, into affordable housing for senior facilities, where a lot of times the programming like this has been curtailed. Mm-hmm. And we're finding all sorts of wonderful things are happening because of this. Of course, people are coming out of isolation, and one of the organizations is called Engage, and they are in Los Angeles, and their model is to build affordable housing for seniors with arts as a central component.
Oh, wow.
And so there are artist colonies, and so people can live as an artist and start to have creative impulses and build their brain and build their community, and it's really been wonderful.
Oh, that's
and I'm grateful. These are continuing students of mine, so the adaptation to Zoom, I mean, our hour and a half class, I'd say the first 20 minutes are unmute the button in the lower left. Okay, your videos. Okay, now you're freezing. You know, it's just the troubleshooting. The learning curve is steep, but we're learning. We're all learning. And the stories, one of my students has started a podcast called Thrive, Connect, Contribute. And we are all creating, I shifted my classes to online on Zoom, and we're going to create stories about resilience.
Oh.
And then we're going to curate them and edit them and put them on his podcast.
Oh, good. So you have to let us know when that happens, Dane.
I will, for sure, Gene.
Yeah.
And all the, these students, I would say the median age is mid-70s. There are some younger and older, but there are stories about the polio outbreak, 9/11, post-war, the Dust Bowl. There are stories coming out of these participants that I think will resonate with lots of listeners, and it's giving my students the opportunity to continue to see the power of story and where that can take them. And when you share a story, it becomes universal and it resonates with people.
Right. Dane, now I took that improv class from you, and that was very challenging for me, as you know. But is there any way you could do that online? I had so many people ask me, when is that going to happen again? And of course, that was before the virus.
Well, we were going to start one May 5th. And
is there any way of doing that? Would that be hard to do?
Well, improvisation, because it is inherently a group activity, it would be challenging, I think, especially with new students. But I was talking to a teacher the other day because I was going to do an improv segment in a school. And I said, I'm not adept enough to be able to say I can do it next week, do improv online. But part of me wants to say, it's not possible. But I'm pretty sure there's about 120 people teaching improv online as we speak. So I would probably just look at what the early adapters are doing and copy. But I think with people that have worked together for a while or have more experience, I'm sure we can come up with all sorts of games that would use this Zoom, we're calling it the Brady Bunch Hollywood Squares format. Because so I heard somebody was making up an improv game called Face Jam, which has to do with, I don't know what it is, but I'm open to it. And we have that class, we've decided to do a class on comedy. So I'm going to make little short movies about, slapstick when slapstick. And,
okay, you've got to keep us posted of all these things you're doing. and I want to have you on again, but now one last thing I wanted to ask you about. Yeah. Okay, so why couldn't, and I just thought about this morning, but why, when the weather gets nice here in Minnesota, it was snowing yesterday, but why couldn't you and your friend and the piano player, I forget his name.
Dan Chenard,
why couldn't you go to, Lake Calhoun that has that covered,
well, what I am
go
doing,
and put on a program.
I'm going to do a concert, an outdoor concert for my building on, I think, May 6th, the Cinco de Mayo. I'm going to sit outside and people will sit in their balconies. And I'm going to try and live stream that. I have friends that are already doing this. Some of my compatriots are a little more introverted than you would think. And the idea of doing something online, even in the midst of this, is just like, I don't want to do that. So, which I understand. It's an equation that everybody has to navigate. And
well, I just think, you put on such a good
show. Well, thank you.
And I don't know why, you couldn't charge for something like that. I don't know. I keep thinking about the whole money thing. But, people.
Here's what I'm going to do, Gene. This is what my friends are doing. I'm doing a concert, I believe, May 6th outside here, Cinco de Mayo.
Okay.
No, May 5th.
Okay.
It's Cinco. I'm doing a concert here May 5th. And I'm going to do my best to do the Facebook Live and have a tip jar on Venmo, just like people do.
Good.
I just have to overcome the feeling that it feels like begging.
No, it doesn't.
I'm very fortunate that I've had a few patrons and benefactors have sent me some support. So I am not panicking. I have colleagues who are, but I'm having to make up for a lot of lost revenue, but I'm not in danger.
Okay,
so
good.
I'm grateful to share that.
I'm grateful for you.
And it allows me to be able to adapt gracefully rather than having to panic. And as an artist in the United States, there are you expose yourself to a lot of financial up and down.
Yeah.
And that's not anyone's fault. That's just how it is.
But still, Dane, I'm still telling you, I just think people would be willing to contribute, pay.
Oh, I know they are.
To get a little bit.
I already know they are. I see it working for my friends. And
and people are starving for entertainment. Just like last time I saw you on stage, people are starving for that, and they've got to get it somewhere. And it doesn't have to be in a crowded, nightclub or a crowded, studio. So, well, we're out of time, but I can't wait to have you on again and follow and see what you're doing. And, we're one of your biggest supporters, Aging But Dangerous. So,
I really appreciate it, Gene. And I'm one of your biggest supporters too. And
I know you are.
I believe in aging creatively. I'm going to be 61 in a few weeks. And, we just, keep adapting, adjust accordingly. AA.
Sure do. Yeah. All right.
Thank you, Gene.
Okay, thank you, Dane. Talk to you later.
Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.